Okay.
Should I go ahead and start?
Yeah, I think we should start.
Okay. Good morning or afternoon, everyone, depending on where you are and where you're calling in from. Welcome to our SfAA 2021 annual meeting town hall. We're very glad that all of you could join us and look forward to your feedback and questions about our format and our planning. My name is Jeremy Trombley. My pronouns are he, his. I'm a white male sitting in my dining room with a blank yellow background. Currently a postdoc at the University of Oregon. And I'm going to be moderating this town hall, meaning mainly I'll be facilitating the question and answer session. Excuse me. First, I need to go over a few details about the format and what you can expect from the town hall today. So first of all, closed captioning is available for those of you who need it or would like to use it. If you go down to the bottom of your screen, your Zoom screen, you should see a little button for the closed caption option where you can toggle it on and off and use different options there. So that's important if you would like to use it. Second of all, I want to let you know that the meeting will be recorded so that we can post it to the SfAA website for those who are not able to attend synchronously, so that others can watch it later. That said, attendee webcams and audio are muted and chat is disabled. So only the panelists will show up on the video and the audio of that recording. I'll also not use any names when I'm doing the Q&A session so that anonymity is preserved. We ask that you post your questions and comments in the Q&A dialog box, which you can also find at the bottom of your screen right next to the closed captioning option down at the bottom there. So you can open that dialog box and post your questions and comments as you see fit. You can make your questions anonymous by using, there should be a little tick box that you can check to make your questions anonymous if you'd prefer. But again, I won't be using any names or identifying information in the Q&A when I read the question. So it's your choice, really. Panelists will be presenting their plan before the Q&A. So we're going to have a little section where each person goes through a different aspect of the SfAA meeting and how it's going to be organized. And we ask that you hold your questions until after the panelists present. And once the panelists present, then we will take your questions and feedback. I'll read them in the order that they are received and direct them to the panelists as needed. So that's what you can expect for today, unless I missed anything, Michael or Kira or anyone. So I'm going to turn it over to Michael to introduce the panelists and get us started.
Okay, thank you, Jeremy. Hello, everyone. I'm Michael Paoliso. Welcome to our town hall to talk about our 2021 annual meeting. I am a white male, brown hair, black rimmed glasses, blue shirt, and I'm sitting in my study at home. My pronouns are also he and his. I am the president-elect of the Society for Applied Anthropology. I'm also a professor of anthropology at the University of Maryland, where I teach and practice environmental anthropology. The other panelists on this session here is Mark Edberg, Rebecca Long, and Kira Collins. And we're going to go in turns and describe different parts of the meeting. So since May, I've been leading a working group within the SfAA, and the presenters here are members of that working group, and others are online with us. That has been looking at how to make online meetings better serve the needs of our members and our society. And our main task has been how to begin to develop these online meetings, and in particular, the annual meeting. And it's going to come as no surprise to anyone that this is not a normal year to plan meetings, particularly an annual meeting. In planning such a meeting, we need to consider members' needs and health. We have organizational needs. We have great uncertainty We have the coronavirus stress and hardships. We're addressing racial injustices and much, much more. So it has been a challenging time, but I'm very pleased to say that the working group has done an outstanding job in moving us forward. It's also important, I think, to let everyone know that SfAA annual meetings are scheduled years in advance. So we have been scheduled to meet in Norfolk for some years now. In fact, I believe we're scheduled out to 2026. And we do that in order to get good deals on hotels and conference sites, et cetera, but that also results that we've entered into a contract with these establishments. So we are scheduled to meet on site in Norfolk, Virginia in March of 2021. And we still have a contract for that meeting. But this year we cannot count on the fact that we can physically meet in Norfolk for obvious reasons. Thus, this group developed a model, a format for our annual meeting, a hybrid model that could integrate online and on-site if we were meeting on-site. Our driving goal was we need to have an annual meeting in 2021, especially after canceling the one in 2020. So we developed a hybrid model. It's a 3-week model conference. It begins around March 16th and will end around April 2nd. The first week will be online. The second week is scheduled to be on site and online. The third week will be online. The online will have various formats and a number of sessions depending on what our members submit. They can be pre-recorded, they can be live simulcasts, they can be podcasts, they can be films, they can be posters, etc. The on-site component of the annual meeting, that middle week, will be from March 23rd through March 27th and follow our traditional schedule with the first day focused on local day. During that week, we'll place a significant number of the Norfolk sessions, posters, and plenaries online. And that will be available to all people at the meeting as well as everyone online. The online component at Norfolk will also include networking events that will begin actually the first week of the conference. And these virtual gatherings are hangouts or lounges, coffee chats, and the use of social media. All of our online sessions will be recorded and archived except for the workshops that we do. And finally, in the event due to COVID that we have to cancel the on-site meeting and hopefully negotiate our way out of the hotel contract, we will put all of the on-site Norfolk presentations online. So we will move from a hybrid to a all virtual format. So that's pretty much a brief overview. We can talk about much more of that, but right now I'm going to turn it over to Mark Edberg, who is the program chair for the Norfolk meeting. Thank you. I think you're muted, Mark.
Okay. My name is Mark Edberg. I am a Caucasian male, sort of sandy colored hair, also dark rimmed glasses. That seems to be a common theme. I am talking from my home study with a bookshelf in the background, and my pronouns are also he and his. So I just, I wanted to just hit on a couple quick points. One is, I am assuming that everyone has seen the theme, but the theme in some ways, which is linking social, cultural, and physical ecologies, the theme came out of thinking about Norfolk as a place. And that doesn't mean, by any means that submissions have to relate to Norfolk, but just because it was Norfolk, the idea that so many levels are linked in what happens with communities and other social groups, whether it's the combination of economic and climate change and how that affects the movement of people. And it just, because of that, it lent itself very well, I think, to some of, to the lens that anthropologists and other social scientists bring to looking at particular issues, whether they are issues of health or whether they're issues of economics or community immigrants in communities, or how local communities deal with climate change, all of those things, because there are so many intersections like that. And I think that, we can bring that, that lens of being able to integrate these different kinds of factors and levels in a way that not all students of these issues can. So anyway, so that's briefly on that. I just wanted to say that, yes, it's a hybrid meeting, and, with the potential that it may be all virtual, but in some ways, this is offering a really exciting opportunity to bring in people who might otherwise not be able to attend. So there are initiatives out there to increase global participation in the meeting. We've already gotten a lot of interest from groups who want to have sessions around disaster and disaster-related issues connected to climate change. We've got some potential sessions related to the census, some critical conversations. There are issues of health, and because of Hampton Roads, we've had some expressions of interest around military health and issues related to military health, which is a unique kind of issue. Also, bringing in COVID and social justice. There are, again, we've had a lot of interest in sessions related to first responders and people who are frontline workers. We have in the works, and these will be in person or virtual, or virtual, some local activities related to the 1619 African descendant communities that are in and around the Hampton Roads or Norfolk area. There's Fort Monroe. There's, I believe, 7 Native American communities, some of whom have expressed some interest in having a session. So we've got a lot of activities, and this meeting can be, despite all the challenges, I think it's going to be a really exciting meeting. So please think about that. Oh, by the way, I forgot. I think I'm at George Washington University. I'm a professor in the Public Health School and the Anthropology Department and the Foreign Affairs School, but my main seat is in the Public Health School.
Great, thanks, Mark. Our next speaker will be Rebecca Long, who's going to talk about accessibility work we've been doing for the meeting.
Hi, everyone. I'm Rebecca Eli Long. I'm a disability anthropologist with a background in Appalachian studies. As a visual description, I'm a pale-skinned white person with short brown hair, dark-rimmed reading glasses, sitting in front of a white wall with a couple of abstract pen and ink drawings in the background. I'm currently a PhD student at Purdue University in the Department of Anthropology and the Center on Aging in the Life course. So as a member of the SfAA working group designing this meeting, I see this as a really great opportunity to leverage some of the potentials of online space, and then to also recognize that the shift to online, as well as the continued challenges related to COVID, raise new challenges related to accessibility. So as part of this working group, I've worked to help with some of my colleagues put together a meeting that we see as being very flexible and trying to build in access from the ground up. So this has included creating a robust online option that we believe can be as valuable as our in-person conference. We've created a conference that allows for both synchronous and asynchronous engagement, both for participants who are maybe busy, have caregiving commitments while they're trying to attend a conference from home, and also for participants who may be tuning in from around the world. But we also have been starting to discuss changes that will need to be made to our conference format. So with a few of our members, including expertise from the Society for Disability Studies, and recognizing that this accessibility work has been going on for years, we've been working on developing presentation guidelines for accessibility and technical presentations. We're building in opportunities for feedback from our memberships, including town halls such as this one. And we're working to put together messaging to share an organizational and societal commitment to accessibility.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Rebecca. Our next presenter will be Kara Collins, who will talk about the meeting platform and some of the technical sides of the meeting.
Thanks, Michael. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today for our town hall. My name is Kara Collins, and my pronouns are she and her. I have recently graduated or finished my master's at Purdue University, where my focus was on early career practitioners and how they maintain ties to the discipline, really the state of applied anthropology education. And so my interest for joining the working group was to understand how we could create a better, more inclusive meeting for all of our members. And of course, with COVID going on, understand how we could create a meeting that would be accessible in the event that we aren't able to meet in person for Norfolk 2021. So my particular role has been in identifying the platform software that we would like to use for this upcoming meeting. So I'd like to just briefly review what went into that decision and then show you very quickly sort of what that software looks like. So two of our main concerns in creating or choosing a software were really, one, that it would be accessible for both in-person attendees and online attendees and facilitate a hybrid meeting. And two, that we would be able to incorporate accessibility into the platform and the offerings. So just a few features to mention. The software we've chosen offers both live and pre-recorded sessions. And it also offers what is called a semi-live session, where there's a pre-recorded session, but there's a live Q&A or a live chat feature with the presenters or panelists. So lots of flexibility in terms of what types of sessions we can offer. The thing that's also great is the agenda building setting. So both in-person attendees and online attendees can view the full schedule, what's going to be offered both online and in person, and they can build out what they'd like to add to their personal agenda. As we've mentioned, there's also various opportunities for networking and engaging with other attendees. Yeah, I think that's everything. So I'll go ahead and share my screen real quick just to show you a brief example of what the software looks like. Let me see. Okay. There we go. Okay, great. So this is a sample of what the Norfolk 2021 online software will look like. We have chosen to go with Hoova software. And the reasons we really chose the software was it offered the most flexibility in terms of the types of sessions we could offer. And it was a lot of customer service support. So that'll be really great as we prepare both our attendees and our presenters for getting familiar with the software and making sure that you guys all feel well supported going into the Norfolk 2021 meetings. So as a sample homepage here, we have some Norfolk information, maybe a little bit of a welcome message. This is all just sample text here. And then importantly, in the agenda section, this is where you'll be able to see the full agenda, both the in-person meetings and the online meetings. You'll have the ability to filter by tracks. So for all of our TIGs, we could be able to mark those particular sections, whether it's a business, higher ed, extraction and environment, etc. And so when you see the session down below, you'll be able to see the title of the session. If it has a track, it'll be marked with that track, as well as the time, the location, and any speakers. If you'd like to view further information, you can select View Information. And this is where you can see a little bit more about the particular sessions. So we'll see here as a sample, I am the speaker. We see the time of the session, again, the room. If it was going to be a Zoom meeting, we'd see the Zoom link listed here already, as well as a short description down here. And then on the right, we have our session Q&A and our session chat, which is accessible before the meeting, during the meeting and after the meeting. So you have access to the conversation that was going around the particular sessions for an extended period of time. Let's see, so if we'd like to add this session to our agenda, we can go ahead and hit add to my agenda, and it'll give us the option to add that to our Google Calendar. So it's very user-friendly. You can add it to multiple calendars. And when you go back to the agenda section, you'll see here, we can access the full agenda, and then we can see the agenda that we're putting together for ourselves. So you can really specify which sessions you'd like to attend. I did forget to mention this platform is accessible both on a desktop or a laptop, as well as on mobile devices. So whether you'd like to access it from a phone or iPad as well. So that's everything for agenda. Attendees gives you a list of attendees here, so you can connect with other members. You can see who is speaking here, which sessions I'd be speaking at what time those sessions are, as well as a short bio, and then I can connect with that individual if I so choose. There's also a community area, and this is where we are planning to have some of our networking opportunities, some structured discussions, and then individuals can also create their own discussions with one another. So if you'd like to connect with a few friends, you can create your own chat and sort of have that as an ongoing discussion throughout the meeting. The other thing I wanted to point out is the session Q&A. So let's say you're attending a session at 7 a.m. There's another one at 7 a.m. that you can't attend, but you'd like to see sort of what the Q&A or what the discussion was around that event. You can view the questions that were associated with that event throughout the entire meeting. So for the full 3 weeks that we have our event going, you'll be able to see the discussion that was going on for that particular session. So it's a brief look at the software, but we feel confident that it will provide a great meeting and one that is relatively accessible for everyone. We will be providing training materials both for attendees and presenters to get familiar with the software, and just so everyone feels comfortable. The technology it integrates is Zoom, which I know most of us are familiar with. And because it does integrate Zoom, we do have captioning offerings. So we will be, attempting to be as accessible as possible throughout the meeting. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and unshare my screen and happy to answer any questions about the software as questions come in. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Kira. So now I'm going to turn it back to Jeremy, our moderator, so we can get into your questions and have some discussions about the meeting.
Great. Thank you, Michael. And thank you everyone for your very good, concise presentations. I think it was a lot of information and hopefully we'll be able to clarify some of your questions and some of the details in the Q&A. So I've already got a few questions. The first one, if we're ready, is asking about if there will be sort of information or guides for those who are already planning to do an online session available so that they can to kind of instruct people on how to present papers online. So PowerPoints shared over Zoom or other formats if possible. So I can kind of answer that question a little bit. We've talked about maybe putting together a guide that will help people come up with different methods of presentation that aren't just the normal sort of PowerPoint presentations. And obviously there are other options too, like videos and things like that. So maybe somebody can talk more about those other formats.
Yeah, I can quickly touch on that as well. So once we hit our October 15th submission date, we're going to be meeting to discuss, more of the planning, which sessions are going to be online, which ones are going to be in person. And then as we scale, figuring out, if everything needs to be moved online. But I will be creating documentation for creating presentations and the different types of presentations that the software will allow. We're still in sort of our onboarding phase with the platform Hova. So in the next few weeks, I should have some more questions answered for exactly the types of presentations we can facilitate. But we should be able to have, you can upload documents to the system. So we can have like PowerPoint presentations, we can have just PDFs, video presentations, live presentations. So there is quite a bit of flexibility. It's just a matter of sort of planning it a little bit more in the coming weeks as well.
Great. So we have another question, which is also sort of about the technical and presentations details. So this one asks if it's possible, I think, to add a complementary sort of poster session that would go with an online session to expand audience and allow working anthropologists to engage with the session. Can a separate call for contributions be done for that poster session? I guess is part of the question as well. So I think, I'm not sure who just tagged that, but maybe Kira, is that something you want to address too?
Yeah, so I would need to communicate a little bit more with Hova to figure out exactly how we could facilitate some of these poster sessions. From my understanding so far, it's mostly like a document upload, and then we can sort of create a Q&A session or a chat around that document, less so having that presentation mode. Otherwise, we would have to change it into sort of either like a live Zoom or maybe a pre-recorded presentation where the poster is presented in that format. So I should have some more answers on that in the next week or so. I'm sorry, I can't answer that more fully.
If I could just refer to what seemed to be another part of the question, which was, it sounded like was there a possibility of linking poster and presentation sessions in some way? I do not know the answer to that. I don't know if anyone else wants to comment that, but that is a real interesting question. And it's something that in a virtual setting may be possible more so than, obviously than an in-person setting. Anybody? Michael, thoughts on that?
Not any additional thoughts, but yeah, I was also thinking that we have some critical conversations that get scheduled further in the fall, and I was just thinking maybe a poster linked to a session or something could be, a night on a theme that meets our critical conversation could be a possibility too.
Yeah, no, it's a great idea to do. We haven't figured out a method to do that yet.
Kira, did you have something you wanted to say about that?
I was just going to agree that I believe the online platform we're choosing will be able to facilitate that a little bit better in terms of connecting a presentation and a poster, just because of the capabilities we have to create like multi-track sessions. But I can't answer that completely fully right now. I apologize.
Okay, great. So the next question is about operating systems. This commenter is specifically wanting to make sure that Android operating system does not complicate working with folks in Hova and or with session participants. So I think that's another question for Kira.
Yeah. So there's no operating system that doesn't work with Hova. The only thing to be aware of is that Hova does not work with Safari. So you need to be using Google Chrome or Firefox to actually access the website. If you're using the app version, you actually log into the Hova app itself. So it's going to be facilitated both through the Android store and the iOS Apple Store.
Great, thank you. So another commenter thanks us for all of our hard work. So thank you everyone again. They say this will be the highlight of their COVID-19 experience. So that's good to hear. And then the question is, who monitors the questions in the Q&A during a session? So I think we've talked about different options, like having the chair do it. But maybe Kira or Michael, do you want to address that one?
I can answer that one again, unless Michael wants. Yeah, so we are hopefully planning to have either maybe student volunteers or SfAA employees representatives to help moderate question and answer. We obviously know how difficult it is to host a session, present your material, and sort of moderate and go through Q&A at the same time. So for any live presentations, we will do our best, and I think our plan is to have a representative or a student to do the Q&A moderation.
Okay, great. So the next question asks, what are the guidelines for submitting a workshop? So I don't know if we've addressed that yet.
I'll take a crack at it. And I believe that the workshops, and maybe Melissa, you can correct me or add to this, If somebody's interested in submitting a workshop, they get in touch with the SfAA office and maybe even the program chair and the program annual meeting program coordinator to schedule a particular workshop and see the feasibility of it and all of that, talk about the logistics, costs, etc. Melissa, is that correct? Or?
Yes, and there is a workshop submission link online, just like for posters, papers, sessions, that ask more specific questions for workshops.
And I believe a similar process, if for those who want to submit a critical conversation session, and most of which are done on the first day, yeah, that would be similar. Just, you know, get in touch with me or Michael or Melissa. And I'm not sure, Melissa, is there a specific submission function for that? I don't think so. I think that's one.
Usually just talking with the program chair so that,
Yeah.
that you can decide what
Yeah.
you want that day.
Yeah, and we've had some inquiries about that already. So, so yes, if that's something you want to do, just go ahead and let me know. Email me, and you may want to copy Michael also.
Okay, great. So the next question is a great question. Asks, can we show these sessions in our classes after the 3 weeks are over in particular? So will attendees be able to use them as instructional materials? I think that's a great question and something that the online format might facilitate better. Michael, Kira?
Or maybe Rebecca too.
Yeah.
I assume yes. I think that's one of the reasons why we're archiving them, is so that they can be used in classes, but I'll let Rebecca and Kira add more.
Yeah, and I feel like there might be a stance to come out on this from the SfAA office in particular. We did talk a little in our format discussion about sort of using a node or a hub type model where people could gather locally, and just for sort of the COVID related uncertainties, that model was a lot to pilot for our first attempt at an online meeting. But I think there would be ways to incorporate the recordings into your teaching.
Yeah, and just to add to that, the sessions, what's added into Hova, both once it's live and as pre-recorded, will be available for the entire 3 weeks. And I believe we can extend that out. I'll have to confirm with Hova. So attendees will be able to continue to access the material in there. And I believe then we will have some sort of plan after we have no more access to Hova to sort of archive those materials somewhere as well.
Okay, so the next question is about time constraints in sessions. Will there be time limits, or will they be similar to the time limits on in-person presentations? So yeah, I think Rebecca, you want to answer that?
Yeah, and I'm going to answer this along with the question below it as well, which okay. Yeah, I think the answer is to assume that your session for your typical panel or roundtable will run fairly similarly, whether it's on-site or online, with a fairly similar time frame. We've talked about condensing the time for the online sessions by just maybe shortening them by 10 minutes for the entire session to allow a little more time for people to move in between sessions and to sort out any sort of technical glitches that might occur. But in general, I think your standard presentation is going to be about the same length, if not exactly the same length it would be online versus in person.
Great, thank you. So unless somebody else has a response about the submissions, abstract submissions, maybe Melissa, do you have any comments on that?
I don't think I have any additional comments.
Okay, great. So the next question is, when will we get access to Hova? Kira?
That's a great question. So our ideal plan, we're creating the implementation plan right now, would be to allow attendees to have approximately 3 or 4 weeks to get familiar with the software before the actual event occurs. This would allow attendees to create their profiles. So basically you can add your little bio, you can add your profile information, which is what other members and presenters will be able to see through the system. And then again, you can have access to looking at the agenda. At that point, we might still be moving things around, so it might not be set in stone, but you will have access to get familiar with the software. And as soon as we have more of that implementation plan created, we'll be communicating with you as well in terms of those dates and when you can expect to have your login information.
Great, thanks. So the next 2 questions are sort of about the same issue, which is if you're planning to attend in person, but you're unsure, and then something changes and you decide to present online. When is the last time that you need to contact somebody to switch to online? What's the process for doing that? And what are the logistics involved in that? I'm not sure who to call on for that. Maybe Michael, do you?
I'll start it off, but then I'll ask others to help out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if we have an exact date about when that's past that date. It would be difficult to make an on-site to online or online to on-site change. It's a really good question and something that we can begin to think through. But I don't know, Kira or Rebecca, any thoughts on that? Or Melissa, because you're in the SfAA office?
Michael, will you go ahead and let participants know when the plan is for making a final decision about hybrid versus online only?
Yeah, that the SfAA board will be discussing it, and our current thinking, which is changing, was that we would want to make a decision by no later than early December. And my sense is that would be the very latest. And we're reevaluating almost on a bi-weekly basis. Just looking at registration and, I don't know how you track and anticipate COVID and all of that. But it is a very current and active topic that we're discussing. So I think the safe thing to say right now is by the latest by early December.
Okay, any other comments there? All right, so the next 3 questions are sort of about the being in person and online. Can you do both? Can you have a pre-recorded session and then have the presenter there for the Q&A? And then just the feasibility of doing pre-recorded sessions in general in the session. So I'm going to let Kira answer that one.
Awesome, thanks. So for the first question, can participants be in person and online? Yes, they can both be on site in Norfolk as well as online. For the hybrid model we're doing in the case that we are meeting in Norfolk 2021, we will have a sample of sessions that are both hybrid, so incorporating members from offsite and in person, as well as fully on-site, fully online. It's sort of our model for trying out this online software. And so yes, they will be able to connect through the system, whether it's going to be a pre-recorded presentation or a Zoom presentation. The only thing that we haven't, I guess we have kind of discussed, if it's going to be an on-site presentation, there will need to be some level of recording for off-site participants to participate in that. So those sessions would need to be having that online component in order to incorporate those off-site people, which is very doable with the system. So I hope I answered that okay. And then could the poster be pre-recorded? Yes. So the poster session or any presentations can be pre-recorded. And the pre-recorded presentations would simply need to be recorded ahead of time. And then the way that it's facilitated through Hova is either through YouTube, Vimeo, basically online video softwares. And we link the presentation into Hova so that it's fully accessible. And the thing that's great about Hova is it also allows live Q&A. So if there's a presentation that's supposed to be at 12 p.m., there's a pre-recorded presentation already linked at 12 p.m. That presenter can be in that Q&A session answering any questions about their poster or the panel that has been pre-recorded. So it's a really great way to incorporate some of that asynchronous communication. Takes a little bit of preparation off of the presenter where you've kind of already done this first portion of it, and then you can just really engage in the Q&A section. And then, yes, the pre-recorded presentations are possible. So I hope I answered those questions. If I can clarify anything, please let me know.
Great, thank you. So just a couple more things so far, unless somebody else wants to post something. First is somebody else is very excited about being able to archive the sessions and archive the award speeches in particular, I guess. So that's good. And I think that's one of the highlights is there's a lot of affordances that we have as a result of doing this online and having this online format. So we are able to put these materials and make them available after the conference is over and so on. So this is, there's a lot of good things about this, also a lot of challenges, and hopefully we'll get through all those. So then the next question, so if we put an item on your agenda and the SFA changes the time, will the personal agenda be modified by the software itself? And that's another Kira question, I think.
I will have to confirm with Hova, but I believe if you've added the item to your agenda and we simply change the time or add speakers or change the description, it should reflect on your agenda as well. I'll confirm with that. But the idea is that we will hopefully have everything up and running a few weeks before the meeting so that everyone can get familiar, build out their agendas. And then if we change anything after that, I will definitely confirm with Hova to make sure, understand how that's handled on the attendee side.
Okay, great. So it looks like we've answered all the questions unless somebody has a really quick last minute one. Very good confidence. Everyone's very confident about it. It's good. Yeah, we're very excited. We're very confident. I think it'll be a good session. I think it'll be a good conference. Lots of interesting possibilities there. So we're just gonna kind of close it out with the presenters, the panelists, giving some final thoughts, some final comments. So I'll start with Michael on that.
Thanks, Jeremy. I want to thank everyone for participating, and I want to say that this is the first SfAA webinar online presentation. This was one of our goals, was to have a fall online series, and we're starting off with these town halls. So I don't think we seemed nervous, but I think all of us were nervous because this was our first attempt at doing this. And I really want to thank Melissa Cope for learning Zoom webinar and setting it up, and other members of our working group who helped put this together. To me, it's super exciting. I think we have a very good format for our annual meeting. We've got flexibility. We have really good people helping and working on this. And I really want us all to see that, to think of this, that we're all in this together. This will be our first online hybrid meeting where it's, we'll continue into the future, and hopefully a couple of years down the road, we'll look back and just have great memories and thoughts about how we started off doing this. So I can't encourage our members to keep in touch with us and send us your questions, send us your suggestions. We're going to be getting back in touch with you, seeking more information about particular features you might want in the conferences as we move forward. So I'll turn it over to, I don't know, anyone who wants us. Mark.
Yeah, I'll just make a couple of comments, and just a reminder, if you had a paper session poster for Albuquerque, please do. We are welcoming those submissions. You do have to submit, though. You can't just assume that it will happen. So just resubmit and update if you want your Albuquerque session. I will underscore what Michael said, that I think this the hybrid format, while we are, working our way through it, offers a lot of exciting possibilities. So please do submit. Encourage all your colleagues and students to do the same. And if it does remain a hybrid meeting, the hotel has informed us in detail about their COVID protective procedures. So we do have that information, and we're hoping to generate or be able to put together some information about, kind of the COVID protective practices of restaurants and things like that that are around the hotel. So obviously that assumes that, if it's still a hybrid, with an in-person component. So submit. Look forward to everybody's participation. And I want to add a special thank you, along with everyone that's here on the panel, to the program committee. We have a very large program committee that represents lots of different interests and different geographic areas, and they've been working hard on this.
Anybody else have any final comments from the panel?
I'll just say that if anyone in the audience has any final comments or suggestions, to please feel free to drop those into the Q&A as well, because I really want to be able to adjust our plan. I think we have a good plan, and a lot of thought and expertise has gone into it, but it is not at all, the final plan, and we can modify. We still have a few months to make the meeting the best it can be, and work with all of our members to make our first hybrid meeting a very exciting and lively event.
I also see in the Q&A a good suggestion about sending out the hotel COVID policy to members, so that may help them make their decision. So that's
okay, good idea.
Good point. Yeah. And there was a previous question about Zoom webinar versus Zoom meeting, and we had that discussion. And the person asking the question was saying, with Zoom meeting, you can see other people, and versus Zoom webinar. I don't know if somebody wants to, Melissa, perhaps explain why we decided to go with the Zoom webinar versus the meeting.
I believe it was just because we wanted to use the question and answer. We couldn't keep up with chat and Q&A at the same time. It's just easier when you have a certain number of speakers to moderate the Q&A.
Okay. We can rethink it and discuss it again. And then I'm taking over Jeremy's role here. Sorry, Jeremy. The critical conversations will be Zoom meetings and not a webinar. Okay, that's a good point to keep in mind as well. Thank you. Any last minute questions, comments from people? Okay. Let me end by asking everyone on the call to register, if you're planning to attend, to go ahead and register, because we're following registrations very closely, which helps our planning purpose. I hope it's clear that we're very excited about this meeting and the way the SfAA is going online, and we are asking all of our members to help us recruit people to come to the meetings. The meeting is very affordable. For international participants, students, it can be as low as $60. For students, it's low. So with the online component to it and no travel costs, it can be quite affordable to attend the meeting. So please reach out to your colleagues and others that you think who might like to participate in the meeting. They may not know about the SfAA, but reach out to them and tell them about the meeting. And for $80 to $120, they can have 3 weeks of meeting online, and they can, with Hova, set up their particular meeting agenda and follow up later on. So I think, I feel like we're going to offer quite a bit for a very, very good price. And I think a lot of people would be interested if they knew it. So please reach out to people and see if we can get greater participation in the meeting. So if nothing else, I will thank everyone again. And we'll be doing this again Thursday at 6 p.m. if you'd like to come back and join us. And until then, stay safe. Thank you.
Michael, before we close out really quick, there are just a couple of comments here. The one commenter asked if the crucial conversations will be open to the general public, and also asked about the discounted rates drop down. I don't know if somebody answered that or not, but if we could answer about the crucial.
I typed the answer on the Q&A.
Okay. But about the crucial conversations, will they be open to general public? That's the one.
My understanding is that they're open to everyone who is registered for the meetings.
Yeah.
And then they will be archived on the SfAA website. Is Melissa or Trish, is that correct?
If the critical conversation is on Tuesday, which is local day, free to the local public.
Right, so they would be available. Yeah.
Right. That's right.
Yeah, but there may be some, if I'm not mistaken, that may not be on Tuesday. Most of them are, if they're gonna, yeah.
Yeah, I think they've been spread throughout the meetings, but the one on Tuesday, if there are some on Tuesday, and there usually are, they would be open to the public.
Correct. And the others would be just for registrants.
Mm-hmm. Is that it, Jeremy?
Yes, I think that's it. Yeah, sorry.
Okay. No, I'm glad. All right, thanks everybody. Stay safe and hope to see you online or in Norfolk.
Thanks.
Okay, bye-bye.